Life is full of things to manage. Your work, your family, your plans, and your treatment. Consider Kesimpta, ofatumumab 20 milligram injection. You can take it yourself from the comfort of home. If you're ready for something different, ask your healthcare provider about Kesimpta and check out the details at kesimpta.com. Brought to you by Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation.
You've been lost in the woods for hours now, stumbling around in the dark. You come around the bend and see two people roasting marshmallows over a roaring fire. They see you coming into the clearing and gesture over to pull up a log. Welcome to Campfire Ashes. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jess. Join us as we tell each other our originally written spooky stories around the campfire and then dive into the lore and legends that inspired them. Is it something that goes bump in the night? Is it something menacing lurking past the tree line? Or is it just weird and otherworldly? You'll find it here on Campfire Ashes.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or right here on the Geekscape Network.
Well, there's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and let the parties go spread the holiday cheer. 'Cause it's Christmas. Whoa, oh, it's the best time of the year.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So this was your pick. This is, fun fact, only the second episode of Modern Family I've ever watched from front to back.
That's fucking insane to me.
So I used to do a podcast called My Favorite Episode Of, where
Yeah.
people would come on and they would tell us to watch their favorite episode of television. And my friend Eric J. Brown, who now hosts the YAOK podcast, this was before that, had come on to discuss one of the Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
And the one that I remember specifically, I think it was the second season. And it was when not Cam, who's the gay couple?
Cam and Mitchell.
Is Mitchell the one that was in 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee?
Yes.
Okay. So Mitchell, on Halloween dressed as Superman to go, like Superman or Spider-Man, to go to work thinking that everyone else would be dressed in costume, and then realized that they weren't. So he was like wearing a suit over top of his costume, and they did like a bunch of like Clark Kent Superman type stuff where he had to like hide in the bathroom to change and escape.
Such a good bit.
Yeah, it was very funny. And then this episode also very funny.
I was gonna say, so like, there's a lot.
There's
11 seasons. There's 250 episodes total.
That's kind of why. Like,
yeah, I was wondering if because on paper this show is right up your alley.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like.
I have a feeling. I'm gonna bet if I had to put money down, I'd say that maybe in 2 or 3 years I would watch it.
It is a great background show. Now, the unfortunate part of that is I could sit here and not tell you most of what happens in each of the seasons just because there's so much. But it's just background noise, and it's so fun and funny and wholesome.
Well, I feel like it's also kind of from what I understand anyway, it's definitely one of those sitcoms where if not for the fact that the child actors were obviously going to grow up, they could have easily just kept everyone the same age for 11 straight seasons, because it seems like it resets more than it is serialized outside of the natural people are going to grow up in age.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like funny.
Friends.
And I'm trying to say this in like the least gross way, but we watched those kids go through puberty.
Yeah.
And you can,
one is a baby and it's an 11 season show. So I know that she is going to be 11 by the finale of the show.
And it's so funny to watch because I don't know if you remember like when this show was at its peak, but like Ariel Winter was all over like tabloids and whatnot.
Well, that's the crazy thing, because I recognized her face.
Yeah.
And then I went to like her Wikipedia and like I know that she was in some stuff that I've heard of, but I really haven't seen her in anything.
No.
So it was one of those things where I just knew her face because she was just on.
She was just everywhere. She was just everywhere for a minute there, and it was mainly because she did hit puberty very early in life.
Yeah,
and you can see the showrunners. You'll notice that even when it's like obviously hot out and the rest of the family is in like summer gear, they stick her in a sweater and stuff because of what they're. So it is weird to watch these kids go through puberty, like you said, Cam and Mitchell's kid, who's a baby who grows into, no offense to this actress, a really bad actress, but because she was like the kid, and they're not going to recast the kid that's been playing their child this entire time. But no, I absolutely adore this show. I love the full family. I love the little dynamics of each of the smaller immediate families. Cam and Mitchell are incredible, but I will say eventually they do get very annoying. It is cool to watch Ed O'Neill play a nice version of Tim Allen. Like, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Which we'll definitely get to in a bit with his hatred for Columbia.
Yeah. No. So I mean, run it back. I was gonna say this is more similar to what I have to do a lot of the time with the OC podcast.
Yeah.
Because there's always so many storylines happening at once. So I feel like the easiest way is to just tackle storyline by storyline.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's rock.
And I will say that my favorite storyline is the Cam and Mitchell storyline.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Between the carolers and this like weird Santa that they've taken in, just a delight. So we open with them, and they are standing in line waiting to get a photo with Santa.
Yep.
And Cam says to Mitchell, like, I mean, just think, where were we a year ago? And Mitchell goes, probably at the start of this line.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he's just so miserable about how long the line is. And then
which I get. As much as I love Christmas, that is my least favorite part, is being around people in public.
But then just as they get to the front of the line, they switch Santas, and it's like a skinny Santa. And he's just like, no, I'm waiting for the fat guy to come back. Absolutely not. Like, this is our first Christmas card as a family. Why would you even hire this guy? And then they finally get their Christmas photo. They're going out to the car. They're having trouble getting stuff in the car. And who shows up to help them but the Santa that they were complaining about? And he just seems like the nicest guy in the world, but he's also just a sad sap. And he's like, yeah, you get real good at finding space in a car when you have to live out of one.
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, no, it sucks. The people complained. Apparently I wasn't fat enough, so they fired me. And so them feeling guilty invite him to come have Christmas Eve dinner at their house. Simultaneously, while they're in the mall, Cam overhears a group of carolers, and without even looking at them, he knows that it's his old caroling troupe there to mock him.
So, like,
that whole plot.
There are very few characters in the world I relate to as much as I relate to Cam in this episode, as he is trying so hard to take like the high road when they're not around, but the minute they walk into frame, he is just talking mad shit, and I love it.
Angry. It's so good. Then we're dealing with Santa in their house, and he's just like increasingly unhinged. There's this one point where it just jumps to them at the dinner table, and he's just like, well, that must be a really stressful job. And he goes, yeah, but at least one of the gowns always had a blank, so we never knew who had the kill shot. like so fucking random. And then the carolers show up at the house.
Yes.
Clearly now like trying to start something. Like they're being douchebags.
He's a dickhead.
And Cam's like ready to turn on the sprinklers and soak them. And that's when the Santa is like, listen, this time of year is all about forgiveness. Like how I forgave you guys for getting me fired. And it's like,
it was such a good moment.
It's such a good moment because they've never talked about it. They've been trying to pretend that they weren't the ones, and he's known the whole time.
Yeah.
So Cam goes out there to try the high road and talk to his old troupe. And
he responds, he says, wow, even your apology is off key.
Yeah. And then Santa comes in and punches this dude straight in the face.
Yeah.
And this is while Santa runs away after punching them. He goes, "What about forgiveness?" And he yells, "You were nice. They were naughty.
They were naughty." And he just takes off down the road. Well, sounds like it's about time for me to get going.
Yeah. Now, let's do, I think, the least interesting story to me, which is the canceling Christmas plot line.
Really?
Yeah, this one didn't do it for me.
So, the plot line itself doesn't do it for me, but damn it, do I love Phil. I love Phil.
It's
so
funny. Everyone who has ever watched this show within my family says that Phil and Claire remind them of my brother Brian and his wife Jade, because he is so overly anxious all the time, and then like doubles down on stuff and then gets in trouble, and it's always just kind of like, God bless
so
this
good.
woman who deals with like this human being at all times.
So they're about to take the Christmas family photo, and they're about to take the Christmas family photo. No, they're not taking a Christmas family photo. They're doing
Zoom
a virtual
calling
call with his
Fred
dad,
Willard,
played by Fred Willard.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Fred Willard. And what's so funny is Fred Willard and Phil are practically the same character.
Well,
like, Fred is just an older version of Phil.
There's a great joke that made me laugh very early on.
Was it the lower?
Yeah, they're on the Zoom call, and it's just like the nose and the eyes of Fred Willard. And he goes, "Merry Christmas, everybody." And then he goes, "Dad," a little lower, and he goes, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And he's like, "Oh, that's a good one." And then he fixes the camera. And that is Phil and his dad's humor. And it's so funny, like, how annoyed people get around them, because it just has me chuckling, because I know that like we do the same type of stuff. So they're sitting there, they're having their video call with the dad, and in the midst of the video call, Claire notices that there's a burn mark on the couch and jumps right to accusing the kids of smoking. Like, yeah. I mean, there's nothing else it could be.
Which made me uncomfortable, because like in my head, I'm like, they're still on the Zoom call with the dad. Like, this could have waited until the Zoom call was over at the very least.
My favorite line, though, is when it's right after they notice and they're like, I didn't do it. And Phil goes, "Well, I guess it came home after a long day and lit up a cigarette and burnt itself. Is that what happened?" No, because that wouldn't make any sense.
Well, I love that when she accuses the kids at first, Phil is also just like, "Well, it couldn't be me. I have an upper respiratory issue."
I wasn't accusing you. Phil is the absolute greatest.
The setup and the conclusion, I like. The middle part is where I was kind of just like, all right, whatever. Because it's a lot of just the kids.
The kids are the worst bit about this.
And they're
the kids
kind
are
of
great.
a bulk of it.
Yeah.
in this
the kids
storyline.
are the worst bit in this plot line. But, like, Phil and Claire going back and forth on taking Christmas away, like, every time when the kids are talking on their own, it does get like, okay, this is kind of obnoxious. But when the kids come to confess, I love the shot when the young boy, I really can't remember his name.
Luke, I think I saw his name was.
Yeah. He comes in and he's like, "I did it." They're doing the Spartacus thing. And none of the other ones are confessing, but Phil is already in the midst of dragging in the Christmas tree.
He's so excited for it to be Christmas again.
And like, it's when Luke turns around and says, "Wait, they were supposed to admit that they did it as well. I didn't do it." And then he's like, "We're back to lying? All right. Christmas is canceled again. Somebody send a memo to New Year's Eve and Easter. Watch your back." As he's taking the Christmas tree back outside.
Then the big reveal is that I kept thinking that it was going to be revealed that it was one of the parents. Like,
that's what I thought too. I usually when this plot line happens, it turns out like Claire had done something.
And was trying to cover her tracks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to cover her tracks. Like, I feel like there was a plot line at some point in these 250 episodes where Claire was smoking and was trying to hide it. I'm sure it happened at some point.
But actually, it was a Christmas ornament made of glass that, as the sunlight shone through the tree and hit the ornament, it acted like a magnifying glass to perfectly burn the hole in the side of the couch. This is after I think it's their oldest, or no, their middle child. Alex? Is Alex
Yep. So
Alex is the middle child.
Alex, Haley, and Lucas, apparently. Luke.
And when she confesses, it's like mostly fine, except that she's grounded.
Yeah.
But like they're just like, oh, that's so sweet. You like, where like when Luke was like confessing, they were like way more angrier at him.
Yeah.
It seemed like so that kind of made me laugh.
But I think that's also because at this point it's Christmas Eve and they're
Yeah.
like, bro, we're cutting it close. Like it's
Yeah.
about to get dark out. And he is
never.
like, that was that. Alex, we're really disappointed in you. Smoking cigarettes is a really bad thing. Now come help me get the tree. Like that was Phil.
You've been lost in the woods for hours now, stumbling around in the dark. You come around the bend and see two people roasting marshmallows over a roaring fire. They see you coming into the clearing and gesture over to pull up a log. Welcome to Campfire Ashes. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jess. Join us as we tell each other our originally written spooky stories around the campfire and then dive into the lore and legends that inspired them. Is it something that goes bump in the night? Is it something menacing lurking past the tree line? Or is it just weird and otherworldly? You'll find it here on Campfire Ashes.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or right here on the Geekscape Network.
At Maximum Mediocrity, people say things like,
I don't dress like this on the regular basis. This isn't my, pooping uniform. This is not
and they also say things like,
The nurses are usually either angels of mercy or whores.
every episode is a new experience where you get to know people that aren't famous but should be.
Why did my facing Floyd Mayweather in the woods?
My co-host Morgan and I track down the people you didn't know you needed to hear from.
It's like hot sex in a mug.
We are the Maximum Mediocrity Podcast, and we are on all major podcasting platforms. We'll be waiting for you.
Papa Matt has had to lay down the law already with some kids this summer.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially with the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old, like he'll start throwing a fit, and I'll just take away the toy that he's getting pissed off with, and be like, "Not giving this back to you till you calm the hell down, buddy." But
Yeah.
I would never take
And
Christmas
he's like,
away.
fuck you, Matt.
Yeah, you're not my dad.
I'll kill you in your sleep, bitch.
But I could never be like, we're not having Christmas, because that's just hurting me. That's
yeah,
hurting
dude,
me.
like you're ruining shit for yourself. And he does it again at the end of the episode because like the kids finally turn around and we're like, you guys really jumped down our throats when this wasn't even our fault.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, and this is my least favorite part about Claire, because she does this in a lot of the episodes where she kind of turns it on to Phil. And I'm like, no, you were also accusing them of smoking very much in the very beginning of the episode. But they look at him and he's like, I made a mistake. And in life, people make mistakes. And they make it up to people by taking their families to Italy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
No. Yeah, Phil, what are you doing? And then the last storyline follows the Ed O'Neill plot.
Yes.
Where he's experiencing Colombian Christmas at the same time as American. So
they are you going to talk about where it starts? Like
I'm going to talk about where it starts because
Okay.
I actually was like, I literally started my note with, as someone who just recently watched the original Miracle on 34th Street for the first time, I totally get this. When Manny's like, Mom, please, can we just finish the movie? And I'm like, yeah, it's like a wonderful movie. And then this prank shows up and I wrote, okay, well now the prank happened and I'm pissed off. So like, I'm like fully on Ed O'Neill's side at this moment.
You're Jay. You are Jay, the Jay character. Dude, it's so funny. So the bit is that they put like a screamer in the thing as a prank, like a monster head pops up. And the bit is that this is Colombian Christmas. Like Manny is so used to having Christmas in Colombia, and one of their traditions, I don't know if this is a real tradition.
I have a feeling none of this is
I feel
true.
like none of this is, yeah. So the tradition is to scare your family, and they're the inocente.
Yeah.
And I love when they like, Jay's just pissed off and he's sitting on the couch. And they walk away, and he's like, he just presses play, and then he goes, wait, does it do it again? Oh, it's ruined. And like throws the controller down because he just wanted to finish watching Miracle on 34th Street.
The other part that made me laugh is there's 3 scenes really with that. There's that scene.
Yeah.
He goes and complains to Mitchell and Cam for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and they get into another argument. about the Colombian Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
And she's trying to explain how Manny like has these traditions that he likes to celebrate. And she goes, things are really different. Where we come from, the baby Jesus delivers the gifts. And he just goes, well, that's ridiculous. How can a newborn baby carry all them presents?
Oh my God, dude. The Santa versus Jesus conversation is so fucking funny.
It's so good. And then
Go ahead.
He leaves again. And then when he comes back, he's a real jerk. And he's just like, you know what? That's it. We only do Colombia stuff when we're in Colombia, and we only do American stuff when we're in America, and that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And he walks away, and then he pops back in and goes, "Insolente!"
Yeah. he Tim Allen's real quick, and then he comes back and says it's all a big joke. I will say that there is only one thing, and I think you'll probably know what it is. There was only one thing that I am staunchly against. That Manny had in his, this is how we celebrate Christmas in Colombia. And he wanted to open all the presents at midnight.
Absolutely not.
I don't fucking get it. I don't understand. Could you imagine waking up Christmas morning and being like, oh, yay, we already opened our stuff.
Yeah, no, I do love that Jay's tradition is that everybody opens the same gift of pajamas.
Yep. And when he hands the gift, he's like, here's your first Christmas Eve gift. It's pajamas. Wear those tonight.
But you know what? I feel like that would be me.
Dude, my family did that for a while. So.
No, I just mean like that type of. I feel like I'm going to be as I continue to do Christmas with children now living in the house. I feel like I will be some weird combo of Phil and Jay.
Yeah.
Because God
How you
knows,
feeling about that?
I love my traditions. I'm terrified. If we're going to be totally honest. We had a guest on Weird Algorithm to talk about Night Santa Went Crazy. And she was talking about the pressures of doing Christmas when you're a parent and having to make sure that everything's perfect and like that the Elf on a Shelf stuff happens every night. And I was just like, oh no, don't turn Christmas into work. Christmas is like a joyful time. No, like I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure that I have a loving partner who's going to make it great, and I have no real fears. But it's different because when you spend years building your own traditions, and then having to find a happy. That's why I think I did like that storyline. Is that you do have to find a happy compromise with your traditions at a certain point.
It's the Topanga Corey.
Literally just talked about this. I was a guest on a podcast called the Christmas Summit Podcast.
Nice.
And we were talking about TV show episodes or TV shows that didn't have Christmas episodes. But we had mentioned the Topanga Christmas episode. Yeah. And I was saying like that episode is so infuriating because there is no compromise with Topanga throughout it. And it's like, and apparently I guess they just recently covered that on the Boy Meets World podcast, and all three of them were like, we hate this episode.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah.
They really don't like that episode. They kind of think that it's like a character assassination on Topanga. Like they're this doesn't feel like Topanga from any literally one of the most empathetic characters throughout the entire show is just an absolute jerk.
Yeah.
For the whole episode.
It is also really unfortunate that I feel like it's one of the episodes I've watched the most. Yeah. Because I've written things about it, and because like you and I have talked about it. And it does have some of my favorite Christmas moments. Like Eric in that episode is you can't beat it. Eric in that episode is absolutely incredible. But I hope one day you do sit down and continue watching Modern Family, because I feel like this show is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Definitely sitcom wise. And there's so many different Christmas episodes of this show that I'm sure before we ever wrap things up, we will definitely revisit some Modern Family, because they've got like a Christmas episode every season, and they're just as good. So.
I am on board with that, and I mean I'm very excited. We don't usually give a sneak peek, but next week we're going to talk about another sitcom with a caroling subplot.
Heck yeah, we are.
So stay tuned for that. But Dylan, I got to confess something real quick. I don't like Christmas.
Oh,
Insolente!
Oh, you got me!
Oh, whoa, oh, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Have a happy holiday, have a great holiday, have a merry happy holiday.
You've been lost in the woods for hours now, stumbling around in the dark. You come around the bend and see two people roasting marshmallows over a roaring fire. They see you coming into the clearing and gesture over to pull up a log. Welcome to Campfire Ashes. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jess. Join us as we tell each other our originally written spooky stories around the campfire and then dive into the lore and legends that inspired them. Is it something that goes bump in the night? Is it something menacing lurking past the tree line? Or is it just weird and otherworldly? You'll find it here on Campfire Ashes.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or right here on the Geekscape Network.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.